Fora TV. The world is thinking.
When the internet began in the 90s, it used to be said that on the internet nobody knows you're a dog. And that spoke to the promise of anonymity that the internet brought, and the creation of what potentially was an incredible new public space, cyberspace, which was free from many of the limitations of time and space which we experience in other parts of our lives. But there's always been a contradiction at the heart of the internet as a public space, because although many of us treat it as if it is our public space in terms of communicating with each other and being creative and doing all kinds of stuff, the fact is that the digital nature of it makes it a highly contended type of public space, in the sense that it runs on networks which are owned by telecommunications companies. We leave digital traces of everything that we do, which are potentially recordable by those who run the whole thing. And increasingly through things like the social websites like Facebook, we are putting lots of data in the hands of private companies. Now, you may or may not know this, but when you sign up for Facebook, you agree that all of the data that you put on Facebook is owned by that company. They can do anything they like with it at all. I think that there's, in terms of privacy, there are very big issues, which won't have time to go into in any great detail here, which I think all of us need to at least be aware of. There's also much more potential for control and regulation in cyberspace than probably even outside of it. If you take, for example, something like browsing. Now, browsing used to be when you went into a library, you had time on your hands, or you were doing research or something, and you pick up books and you'd open them and you read stuff, you put it back on the shelf, and you basically do something which was essentially a private thing. If you do the same thing on the internet, every single word, every single page which you open is potentially visible to somebody who may wish to look at it. Now, I'm not a particularly paranoid person, so I'm not suggesting that everything you do is being watched or anything else, but the potential is there in a way that didn't exist before. And unfortunately, as time has passed, there's been increasing attempts to control and regulate what goes on the internet, and usually using fears around protection of children and protection from terrorism. Those are the two main kind of prisms in which control and regulation is seen. There are two aspects to this. One which is very clear and overt, and which Joe's already mentioned, which is the attempts by governments, such as our present Home Secretary, Jackie Smith, to introduce a database of everything everybody does on the internet and through email and everything else, and so that the state can keep track of what's going on. The Australian government's proposed compulsory internet filtering system, which I gather means that all ISPs will have to go along with it. And things like that, which are very clear attempts to regulate. But the second thing, which I think is more insidious and in many ways more dangerous, is a self-regulation, which is increasingly happening. And Joe gave some good examples of that. The informal types of regulation. And in many ways you could see that as the policeman in the head, if you like. It's where we all think twice before we allow something to happen, or allow ourselves to say something, or allow other people to say something. And that kind of informal self-censorship is essentially very dangerous as well.